budget before hitting the dealership. Otherwise, that dream car can quickly turn into something of a nightmare. Well, although traders Brian Moody is here with me today to share some key do's and don'ts for buying that first vehicle. Thank you so much for joining me today, Brian.
Well, thank you for having me. There's lots to know when buying your first car, and some things might be obvious and some things maybe not so obvious.
Absolutely. Now, first, let's talk about numbers. According to industry trends, what time of year are people purchasing their first car the most, and when is the best time to buy?
Well, really the best time to buy the car, it kind of depends on the car, but if you look at, say, when the weather isn't as nice and not so many people are out shopping, that's a good time to buy a car because you're going to have more control over the price because not everybody else is out there competing with you. So when a model has changed and it's an all-new car, you probably won't get as great a deal because that's the newest, latest thing. You want to look for last year's model, and that can help you get a better deal even though it might not be the sexiest car on the road. That's going to save you money in the long run.
There's some great tips there. And what type of car are first-time buyers purchasing the most and why?
Well, what we found is that a lot of younger buyers are opting for their first car to be a coupe or a sedan. You know, SUVs and crossovers, in this case this is the Subaru Forester, those are very popular and you see lots of those on the road, the Ford Escape and on and on. Many of these crossovers and SUVs are super popular, but what we're telling people is maybe look for a sedan. In this case, this is the Kia Optima. We think this is a great midsize sedan. Oftentimes sedans like this Kia are more fun to drive. They're more practical in a way for long-term ownership. They have fuel-efficient engines and great features like a big giant sunroof, leather interior, and lots of cool connectivity issues, or features I should say, like wireless charging and Apple CarPlay. I love Apple CarPlay. It's a way of integrating your phone seamlessly into the car's experience without having to be distracting. So what we think is if people look at these kinds of cars, you can save money in the long run because they get better fuel economy and sometimes they can be less expensive to buy because there's so many good sedans all competing with each other. Chances are you're going to get a good deal when you go down to the dealership and show them, hey, I'm serious about buying one of these cars.
That's good info to know. Now, Brian, what's the most important thing to keep in mind when searching for a car to purchase or doing that research?
Well, your budget is something important to keep in mind. You don't want to shop by the monthly payment, so you don't want to go to buy a car either to the bank or to the dealership and say, I want a car that costs $500 a month. They'll sell you any car that can fit that. You want a car that's a good deal for you, so take into consideration the purchase price of the car, $25,000, $30,000, whatever the price is, $10,000. The interest rate, the length of the loan, 72 months, 36 months, whatever that is, and then the payment. Take all those things together and you have a better idea about whether you're getting a good deal or not, because if you only go by the payment, there's no way of knowing if you're getting a good deal. The price of the car could fluctuate, as could the interest rate.
Absolutely. Now, aside from budget, what are some other factors that people should consider, especially families and those college students, when researching to buy their first time?
There's a couple of things. You know, those are good examples of two groups, families and college students. They use cars very differently, don't they? And so you don't want to tell them the same exact car. A Chevy Suburban doesn't work for a college student. You don't need that. But if you're a large family, you tow or you go off-road or it's snowy where you live, you might want a certain type of a car. So consider how you're going to use it and then make your decision based on, do you want good fuel economy? Because let's face it, SUVs don't get great fuel economy, smaller cars do. That's a long-term expense, not just the initial purchase of buying the car, but you're going to get poor fuel economy over the next 5 years or however long you keep the car, whether the fuel prices go up or down. So consider those things together, not just the car, not just how cool it's going to look, but all those things combined.
Absolutely. Now, you touched a little bit upon this, but also let us know how can people in different groups find the car that is both practical for them and fits their style and personality?
Well, I think you have to find a car, like we said, that's within your budget. But here's the key. Test drive everything. Test drive things that you think you're interested in. And before you even get to the test drive, maybe you can eliminate some cars just based on the user comments or a review or the photos. In many cases, you can look at the photo of a car that's been recommended to you. Say someone says, oh, I think you should get a Ford whatever, and you see the picture and you go, yeah, I love that. Or you see the picture and say, no, that's not for me. Do that research first And then when it goes to the test drive, look for cars that are fun to drive within your price range that get good fuel economy. We think that's going to lead to cars like a sedan or a coupe versus an SUV.
Absolutely, great tips. And then lastly, Brian, where can people go for more tips?
You know, there's lots of great information on the internet. These days, there's no excuse for not being informed. You can go to sites like JD Power that has reliability and quality ratings. You can go to Kelley Blue Book that has